Hello, everyone. Ever wondered if your furry friend loves you as much as you love them? Or maybe they're not too keen on your company? Well, it's time to put on your detective hat because today we're embarking on a mission to decode doggy behavior. We'll be diving into the top 15 signs that your pooch might not be as fond of you as you think. Now, don't start fretting just yet. Remember, our four-legged friends can sometimes be as complex and confusing as us humans. We'll be navigating this tricky terrain together, from the subtle avoidance tactics to the more blatant growls and snaps. So if you've noticed Fido acting a bit off lately, stick around. Who knows, you might just stumble upon the answer to your canine conundrum. So, without further ado, let's roll out the red carpet for sign number 15. Prepare to have your canine conundrum solved as we count down from 15 to 1. At number 15, we've got avoidance. If your dog consistently avoids being near you or runs away when you approach, it might be a sign they're not your biggest fan. Now, we're not talking about that adorable game of chase they instigate when they're in a playful mood. No, this is more like when you enter a room and they swiftly exit, or when you go to pet them and they dart out of reach. It's as if you've suddenly become that weird relative they try to avoid at family gatherings. This behavior might be their way of putting some distance between you two. It could be due to a variety of reasons such as fear, discomfort, or just a lack of bond. It's important to note that avoidance doesn't necessarily mean your dog dislikes you, but it's definitely a red flag that something's off. So if Spot is always playing hide and seek, it might not be all in good fun. Coming in at 14, lack of eye contact. This might seem like a small detail, but in dog language, it's a big deal. Dogs use eye contact to communicate with us, just as we humans do with each other. So if your furry friend is consistently avoiding your gaze, it could be a sign of discomfort or distrust. This avoidance may stem from a feeling of unease or anxiety. Just like humans, dogs can feel overwhelmed and need their space too. However, don't fret. This doesn't necessarily mean your pooch doesn't love you. It could just be their way of saying, "I'm not feeling too comfortable right now." It's important to respect their feelings and give them the time and space they need. After all, love is about understanding and respecting each other's boundaries. Remember, eyes are the windows to the soul, even for our four-legged friends. Are you enjoying the countdown so far? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Now on to number 13, growling or snapping. If your furry friend is growling or snapping at you more frequently than usual, it might not be a case of them channeling their inner wolf. Instead, it could be a sign that they're not exactly thrilled with your presence. Dogs use growling and snapping as a form of communication, often when they're feeling threatened or uncomfortable. Now, we're not saying every growl means your pooch is plotting your downfall, but if it's a regular occurrence accompanied by other signs we've discussed, it might be time for some serious canine communication. Remember, a happy dog is a quiet dog most of the time. If your dog's growling more than a grumpy grandpa, it might be time to reassess your relationship. At number 12, we've got hiding. If your dog's always seeking out places where they can be alone, they might be playing more than hide and seek. Now, we're not talking about the occasional solo snooze in the sunspot on the carpet. No, we're referring to a consistent pattern of your furry friend frequently ducking out of sight, finding hidey holes where they can be alone. Sure, we all need our alone time, but if your pup is becoming a bit of a Houdini, it could signal that they're uncomfortable around you. Perhaps they're feeling stressed or anxious, or they might be feeling unwell. Either way, it's not a sign of a happy, secure pup who loves their human. So if you find your pooch hiding more often than not, it's time to take note. Coming in at number 11, refusal to be touched. It might sting a little, but this is a sure sign your dog isn't too keen on your company. Now, we all know dogs are generally cuddly creatures. They're often seen nuzzling their snouts into their favorite human's lap or wagging their tails at the mere thought of belly rubs. But what happens when your furry friend starts to pull away at your touch? It's not necessarily a personal slight against you. Dogs, like humans, have their own personal space bubbles that they might not want invaded. If your four-legged companion consistently resists being petted, touched, or cuddled by you, they're sending a pretty clear signal. It might be a case of feeling overstimulated or a sign of underlying discomfort or stress. So if your pooch prefers no touchy-feely, they might be telling you something. At number 10, we've got stiff body language. It's not about the latest doggy dance craze, but it's a clear sign your dog might be stressed or scared around you. Dogs, much like humans, express a lot through their body language. The way they hold themselves, their posture, and their movements can all communicate their feelings. Now, when your dog's body goes rigid or stiff when you're near, it's not because they're practicing for a game of statues. This stiffness can often mean that your dog is experiencing stress or fear. It's their way of saying, "I'm not comfortable with this situation." Dogs that feel threatened or uncomfortable might also tuck their tail, flatten their ears, or even show the whites of their eyes. Just like us, each dog is unique and may express stress in slightly different ways. So if your dog's more rigid than a statue when you're around, it's time to take a step back. Coming in at number 9, lack of excitement. If your dog shows little to no excitement when you come home or when you interact with them, it might be a sign they're not too thrilled about you. One of the purest forms of doggy affection is the joyous greeting when you walk through the door. Dogs are social creatures, and they usually wear their hearts on their tails. So if your furry friend isn't jumping for joy or wagging their tail like a helicopter rotor when they see you, it's possible they're not feeling the love. Maybe they're just having an off day, or maybe it's something more. You should take note if your dog's enthusiasm seems consistently subdued. Remember, it's not about the size of the wag, but the love in it. If your homecoming is greeted with a yawn instead of a wagging tail, it might be a red flag. At number 8, ignoring commands. If you're feeling like your dog isn't taking you seriously, you might be onto something. Dogs are naturally intelligent creatures, and they understand more than we often give them credit for. So when your dog consistently ignores your commands, it could be a sign they're not as fond of you as you'd like to think. Now, we're not talking about the occasional misbehavior or the stubbornness common in certain breeds. We're talking about a persistent lack of response to your attempts at communication. This could indicate a lack of respect or worse, a lack of affection. Remember, a loving dog wants to please their owner and will respond to commands, even if it's reluctantly. So if your dog treats your commands as mere suggestions, it's time to reevaluate your relationship. It might be a sign that your furry friend doesn't love you as much as you think. Coming in at number 7, destructive behavior. If your dog's chewing up your favorite shoes or furniture, they might be more than just bored. This destructive behavior can be a sign of something deeper. Perhaps there's a hidden layer of anxiety or frustration bubbling beneath your dog's playful exterior. Just like humans, dogs too have their ways of expressing discomfort, and one such way can be through destructive behavior. When they're feeling stressed, anxious, or frustrated, they might resort to chewing on your favorite pair of shoes or that expensive couch you just bought. It's their way of coping, a bit like how some of us might stress eat or pace around the room when we're nervous. But remember, dogs are complex creatures. This behavior could also be a sign of boredom, lack of exercise, or even a medical condition. So, before jumping to conclusions, it's always best to check with a vet. If your home's turning into a doggy demolition site, it might be a sign your pooch isn't happy. At number 6, aggressive play. If your playtime often turns into a wrestling match, it's time to take a closer look. Playtime with your dog should be a fun, bonding experience, not a test of strength. When your four-legged friend starts to play too roughly or aggressively, it's a sign that they're not respecting your boundaries. This isn't a fun game of tug-of-war anymore. It's a battle for dominance. They might start nipping at your hands, jumping up at you, or even knocking you over. This kind of behavior is not only disrespectful, it's also potentially dangerous. It's important to remember that dogs are not humans. They have a different set of social rules and behaviors. Aggressive play is a clear sign that your dog doesn't see you as the leader of the pack. If playtime feels more like a gladiator match, it's time to reassess. Coming in at number 5, not seeking comfort. If your dog doesn't come to you when they're scared or anxious, they might not see you as their safe haven. Now, this one can be a bit tricky. Dogs, like us humans, have their individual personalities. Some might be more independent, while others are the cuddly, cling-on-for-dear-life types. But generally, dogs see their owners as their source of security. So, if your dog consistently chooses to face their fears alone, it could be a sign of a deeper issue. Maybe they've learned that they can't count on you in moments of distress, or perhaps they associate you with the things that scare them. It's essential to observe their behavior and reactions during these anxiety-inducing moments. Do they cower and hide, or do they stand their ground, tail wagging, ready to face the boogie monster? If your dog prefers to brave a thunderstorm alone, it might be a sign they don't trust you completely. At number 4, lack of interest in activities. If your dog shows no interest in playing games or participating in activities with you, they might just not be that into you. Dogs, much like us, enjoy a good game of fetch or a leisurely walk in the park. These shared activities not only keep them physically fit, but also provide an opportunity for bonding. It's like going to the movies with a friend or sharing a pot of tea with your grandma. If your dog consistently shows a lack of enthusiasm for these shared activities, it might be more than just laziness. It could be a sign that they're not feeling the love. They might be telling you in their own canine way that they would rather spend their time doing something else, or with someone else. So, if your dog would rather snooze than play fetch with you, it might be a sign they're not feeling the love. Coming in at number 3, growling during feeding. If your dog behaves like a wild animal, protecting its kill when you're near their food, it might be a sign of distrust. Now, we're not talking about a playful growl or the occasional grumble. No, we mean a full-on, teeth-baring, hair-raising growl. This kind of behavior can indicate that your pooch doesn't feel secure around you, especially during feeding time. Dogs are instinctive creatures, and food is a vital resource. If they perceive you as a threat to this resource, they may react aggressively. This doesn't mean your dog sees you as an enemy, but it does suggest that trust hasn't been fully established yet. It's crucial to respect their space during feeding and work on building that trust. So, if mealtime feels like a visit to the wild, it's time to take a step back. At number 2, no physical affection. If your dog doesn't initiate physical contact, such as leaning against you, licking, or snuggling, they might not be feeling the love. Dogs, as many of us know, are incredibly affectionate creatures. They're the epitome of wear your heart on your sleeve, or in their case, wear your heart on your fur. Their love is often expressed through their need for physical contact. A cuddly pooch is a happy pooch. But what happens when your dog doesn't seem interested in snuggling up or leaning into your touch? It could be a sign that they're not feeling particularly attached to you. Remember, dogs communicate a lot through physical touch. A lack of it could indicate a lack of emotional connection. Physical affection is a mutual exchange between you and your dog. If it feels like a one-sided endeavor, it might be time to reevaluate your relationship with your furry friend. So, if your dog's more standoffish than a cat, it might be a sign they're not too fond of you. And finally, at number 1, resistance to training. If your dog shows resistance or disinterest in training sessions with you, it's a clear sign they're not feeling the love. Now, we're not talking about the occasional stubbornness or distractions. No, we mean a consistent lack of interest or outright refusal to engage in any form of training with you. This could be an indication that your furry friend lacks respect for you, or worse, they might not feel the bond that should be there between a dog and their human. It's like a teenager rebelling against a parent, except with less eye-rolling and more tail-wagging. This resistance could also be a sign of underlying issues like fear or anxiety, which are often mistaken for disobedience. So, if training sessions feel like a battle of wills, it's time to reassess your relationship. And there you have it, folks. The 15 signs your dog might not love you as much as you think. From avoidance to lack of eye contact, growling to hiding, we've walked through these signs to help you better understand your furry friend's feelings. Remember, it's essential to observe and understand your dog's behavior to cultivate a healthy and loving relationship. Each dog is an individual with their own quirks and characteristics. These signs are not a definitive judgment, but rather indicators that might suggest your dog is uncomfortable or unhappy. If you're worried about your pet's behavior, always seek advice from a professional. We hope you found this video insightful. Your support keeps us going, so we're grateful for every like, share, and comment. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more intriguing content about our best four-legged friends. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, every dog is different, and these are just signs, not definitive proof. Always consult with a professional if you're concerned about your dog's behavior. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.